Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Of course, we are talking all things BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. We saw the third round at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. For the first time, all the remaining competitors were in action on the same night. And of course, the headlines once again went to Bako's Diamond. It seems every week, myself and whoever's with me discuss Bako's Diamond for the first 5 minutes. Well, today I'm with Kevin Hennessy. Spoke to him already about Bako's Diamond on Saturday night. That video should be up online. And to the Exile Dub, Tommy Lyons. Tommy, we haven't spoken to you yet about it, but it's safe to say Bako's Diamond is a fairly handy tool. He's now 64 favourite for perhaps one of the strongest derbies at this point I can ever remember. I think that just goes to tell you how good he is.
It does, and you're right. It's a strong derby, but the thing is, in a strong derby, being two lengths better is like being a world apart.
Yeah.
That's what you have to find, and to find out two lengths to be better is exceptionally difficult. We talked last week. I couldn't understand why we were saying he couldn't go any quicker early because the sections,
Yeah.
as we talked about the tracks a million times, they're getting faster and new levels are being set. I mean, we saw Drubby's Kathleen do the third fastest time ever over 5:25 the night before. The track is in really good condition. Um, there's probably a conversation to be said. Was the track faster early on Saturday night? Would it have been faster actually late Saturday night? Because it does change through racing. Kevin will talk about that too. I'm sure he should have plenty of experience of it, the way the track changes over the course of a night. But this was exceptional. But the beauty was he's still not flying out of traps. It's just that acceleration is just breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. And you know what? I know sometimes you can say a dog gets dragged along in behind. And yes, Carrick Aldo was the second fastest time on the night. But he ran a hell of a race to keep pushing Bocker's Diamond all the way. Like, I mean, to my mind, I thought the second round might have broken Carrick Aldo's heart. Chasing hard most of the way, and then getting passed by Toono Charlie, and then being beaten, whatever he was beaten, best part, I don't know, 6, 7, 10 lengths. I don't know what he was beaten.
Five. He was only beaten 5 lengths last week.
Yeah, you think that might have broken his heart, particularly with Tuano Charlie coming from behind him. But like this is a hell of a run, 29-15 in defeat. But Baco's Diamond, as I said to you, when you have a derby that's as good as this one is, it's finding that length or two lengths to be better, and that's huge. It mightn't look massive on the clock saying he only won by 3 lengths or whatever, but it was a performance of a lifetime. It was
Yeah.
absolutely sensational.
Your suggestion is that the hotter the race, the more important the early lead is, and the less likely
Yes.
something is to get around in behind you. And I absolutely subscribe to that theory, and I'm sure you do too, Kevin.
Oh yeah, look, he's like I said to you after racing the other night, like we really have to appreciate this lad. I'm like obviously I'm in the black and amber racing kennels as well, so trying to figure out ways to beat him. But like dogs like this lad don't come around too often, and
Let,
and
let us let us know how those discussions are going, will you?
we'll find out closer to the time. But like we do get these dogs every now and again, very very rarely, and I know we'll always try and find flaws or find different things in them, but at the same breath, we do have to just sit back and enjoy them because who knows when we'll see another one like him. But like, it's silly, my next comment, considering he broke the track record and he's the fastest dog over the 550 yard trip. But I said it to you on the review on Saturday night. It's the third bend clock that just I can't grab. I can't get my head around. Like if someone told me that Pastana's record would go, I seen that. I never thought the 28.99 would stand forever.
He's 20 spots faster to the third bend than
That's the part.
Pastana was the night he broke the record.
And
And
that's
and while Tommy says the track is faster and whatnot, the year Pastana did the clock, that track was absolutely hopping that
brilliant.
year.
Yeah.
And even if it is 10 spots faster, right? And that's all you could be talking. The fact that he's doing that run to the third bend highlights just how exceptional he is. Forget about the end clock. Like we know that's absolutely out of there. But the third bend clock is so far superior to anything we've ever seen. It's frightening.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Like if you put on a video of Pastana breaking the clock, or Susie Sapphire, or Nguyen Taylor in their heyday, and you watch them running, and then if you pause it at the third bend and say, now, a Greyhound's going to go 3 lengths quicker than these, like, it's not possible. Like, it's just not, there is no world. The night that we would have been reviewing Pastana's 28.99, that if someone came up to me and you when we were doing our review and said, in a couple of years' time, a dog will go 3 lengths quicker, like we'd said, kick them out. they've had one too many. Like it
Yeah.
just wouldn't have been believable. But he's a superstar. He's doing absolutely everything right. Graham has him flying. With his age and mature and changing kennels, his running style has completely changed from the dog I thought he'd be. And at the moment, you have to say he's flawless. And on the depth of Derby, I'd agree. Like, I know I'm being biased here with my own lad, but if someone told me that Bob would have been second in the English Derby final, it at his peak and on his four runs back from an English Derby, he'd have 29.39 posted, 29.25 and 29.23 posted. And in the quarterfinals, he'd be 14-1. Like, I'd have said, well, have what you want, like have what you want on him at that price. Like it's mad. And that's the price he is. And I imagine he's not going to get knocked down at that price because
He's 16.
16s. So there you go. Like I think it's bizarre, but it just goes to show not just Bako's diamond, but how many like you've cheap sandwiches, Bombay Pat, undulation, like the list goes on. Like we've been blessed in this derby that yes, we've had unfortunate incidents with Toono Charlie and Crafty Shavu, but by and large, the big hitters are still all there. And wow, we're in for some night on Saturday night.
Yeah, funny enough, you're talking about BoyleSports. That's 16-1. I was looking just through the list this morning. It's still quarter the odds, 1, 2, 3, 4. 16-1, like he's real. He's for me the real each way sort of
He's he's
potential
he's still
steal.
he's still doing Bob things, isn't he? Like he's
Yeah.
qualifying without any incident. Like he always he never looks at any point race like he's not qualifying. That's all you want
Last
until you get
week,
to.
last week now,
Ah,
Tommy.
no,
I'd say
not
you had
at
to
all,
change my
no,
underpants off the second
not
bend
at all,
last week.
not at all. Well,
But
I was
I think
confident watching
I
it. I
think that
thought
I
like
think that's what they call too much information.
the no, we talked. Kevin's talking about and he's rightly so. How do you beat a dog like Baka's Diamond? Well, there's a few ways. Well, one of the main one obviously is that he has to beat himself in some ways because and the beauty of him is that he's not a flying breaker, so that he's not dependent on absolutely flashing the traps. He has to break well, obviously, but it's acceleration. But you have 9 wide Cs out of 24. When did that ever happen in a derby before? 9 out of 24 in the
Yeah.
quarterfinals of a derby. That like he could end up in trap two like he did one night in I know he was a middle seed at the time, but like he could end up in trap two yet because you can't keep 9 of them apart in the semi final if they all qualified. That's it's crazy number of wide and middle and wide seeds in that competition still.
He did do a 330 the other night. Like I know what you mean. He's not a flying breaker
Still didn't
traditionally.
flash out of traps.
The other evening, we did the review, and it was just we sort of took it for granted. Oh yeah, Caracal outbroke him, but the acceleration got him to the front. It was only in the cold light of day next morning when I was sitting there watching it, and I think it's the colouring that makes it look because Caracaldo was that so much lighter. It looked like he was a half length in front of Trap Rise. If you actually look at their front feet, like they're basically level at Trap Rise. Now, obviously, they're not level after 15 strides. Like his immediate acceleration is sprinting pace, Tommy. I said it to Kevin in the piece the other evening. This is a dog that, with a level start, he'd break the sprint track record, he'd break
He
the
was
525-yard track record, he'd break the 550-yard track record, and he may well even
I don't think so. I know
walking
you're going to
home. He
say the
may
five.
well do the 575-yard record because he'd be that
No.
like listen. He's doing 28.94 the other evening, right? In a
Right.
575, breaking the track record to the third bend,
Yeah.
he has to do a one, like he'd only have to do, Chris, you only have to do a 1280 home nearly and it break the clock. Like it's unbelievable what like he could walk home over 575 doing the third bend section he's doing and still break the 575 record.
Well, it's
So
a new
like
it's a new record now anyway. But look, I do think we have to say, and it is worth saying that if he like I thought the other night was one of his better starts. Like not just because he done the 330, but like I've never seen anything in him that suggests he's going to absolutely charge the boxes out like a Pistan. And like I made references to you, Ian. Like Pistan and Susie, they were brilliant starters. Like he's not a brilliant. That's not what you say about him. It's the brute acceleration. But I do think, even though we're talking about the depth of this derby, if he does everything right,
yeah,
on what we know right now, he won't be beaten, and that's why he's 6-4. Even with the caliber of dog that's in there, and even though I'm way biased with Bob, we have to be honest with ourselves. With what he's doing to the third bend, the race is over at that point. Like no, like it's phenomenal what he's doing. He's 3-4 lengths clear of the second fastest to the third bend. And like if you're
yeah.
4 lengths in front the Turbine Derby final night, like he ain't been picked up.
No.
And the beauty of it too is that there's a maturity coming about him now. Like he's still not he still only has 13 runs, I think, is it? It's 13 or 14 runs. Like he's still entitled to be maturing and improving a bit. And I thought there was a maturity in the way he broke in the last couple of rounds. He's improved at each round of the Derby. 29-23, 39-03, 28-94, 343, 335, 330. He's now the only issue there, of course, is if you're going to raise a small concern, and it shouldn't be a concern, but is that there's three more rounds, and that's what makes the Derby so difficult to win. I think you were talking about, Ian, that we'd be talking about him as one of the greats. I think we can only talk about him as one of the greats if he goes on to win a Derby, because you got to have a medal on your chest as well as records, because flashy runs, dogs can do big runs, but it's not a given that you go and win three more times. I mean, losing one length at the break, as we talked about last week, can add up to three lengths by the third bend. You know what I mean? Because you're maybe have to track a little bit different, or ride a little bit of a bump early, or do whatever you want to do. Things like that to try to get yourself out of trouble. Like one length early is a huge amount to lose, and all of a sudden it's an open race, because there's dogs doing 29-15, 29-16, 29-18, loads of 29-20s at the moment. Like the ability, I'd say, the overall quality of the Derby is there. So to say that he's not getting his own way. Like, he has to make sure he does it right every single night. There's no kind of he can underperform and still win. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, if you look at the quarterfinals, there's not a heat where there's not three or four like proven stars in it. Like it's so deep at present, and yeah, I know things can happen, but like we're at a stage where now you can't have a bad 12 left, or you can't have a bad six left. Like there's just
Yeah.
such immense quality left in the competition. Um, his 29-23 run from the opening round, the night we were all speaking about him or Bombay Pat and whatnot, like that's a world away. So, like he's 13 spots faster to the first line. He's obviously gone 29 spots faster to the winning line the other evening. And since then, like what did he do that first night? Was it a 1680 something he did? Like now we're talking 1663. Like it's just, I refer back to the text message I got from Damien Lonigan last Saturday night, not Saturday just gone, but the previous Saturday. That was the chance at the breaking the record, because
Yeah.
he's telling me how much he'd laid on a 10-1 to be the record to be broken. And like so much so that had to cut it. And then Saturday night, like bingo, bango. Like at the third bend when the 1663
Yeah.
went up,
Um,
like off the last bend, like
We're
you don't
laughing in
like
commentary, like, even.
you don't like making declarations in commentary, but like watch the clock. Like I don't think I was the only one in the world thinking that. Like I'd say every single person in Shelburne Park that is regularly there and knows what we're talking about as regards to third bend clock knew that, barring he trips over himself, barring he hasn't tied his laces or something, like this dog is going to smash the track record. And like he's after taking 5 spots off it. Like there's three parts of a length he's after taking off
It
it.
was
And
it
as I
was
said, and he's coming home. He's coming home like 2.5 lengths slower than Pastana did the night he broke the clock. Like it just highlights how quick he is to that third bend. And like we've barely touched on Caragaldo, who was the second fastest qualifier of the third round. He's running out of his skin. Like Tommy, you referred to it last year. You said, like, I think he will be a 550-yard dog. Like he'll get there, he'll roll home. I'm not sure either of us thought he'd stay it this well, but like he's
No.
gaining on Bako's diamond up the home straight. Now, listen, Bako's diamond is after leaving it on the line. He's doing everything he can. Like Superfast Gordon probably runs his best race, maybe ever at Shelburne Park. He's beaten 7 lengths. You know what I mean? Now he is dragged around a little bit, like, but like, I just think it just goes to show exactly what the front two are doing. But the winner in particular, like he is absolutely special. And I think he will go down as one of the greats, Tommy, even if he doesn't win this. Like the fact of the matter is, you look at his body of work in such a short spell of time. What hasn't been, it's sort of like we haven't even touched upon the fact that this is 12 in a row. Just 12 rins on the spin. Like it's just an incredible achievement. And it's not as if he's taking on slow greyhounds. Like he's taking on absolute worldies, and he's ragging them. Like it's just phenomenal. Phenomenal,
Well, he
phenomenal.
got he got a, he got a good schooling taking on Broadstrand Seed anyway
mm,
in the early stages. But I just thought that was funny. You were laughing in disbelief as you called out the 1663 in commentary.
I
yeah.
know, yeah. It is one of those things where, you know, like every now and again, a little run, something pops up on the clock, and you'd go, like, if that had come out of nowhere, that 28-94, I wouldn't have called out the time.
Mm.
because you don't know, you just
Wouldn't
kind of
know,
can't
yeah.
trust us. Sometimes you think, the mechanisms are not working properly or something like that. But like we knew, like he sent off the 1-5 favorite. I think he was 2-5 in places during the week, like that. That
It's
that
kind of funny that 1-5 favorite though in that level of competition.
Yeah, I think it just sums it up. Anything
Yeah.
else to add on Baco's Diamond, gentlemen, before we move on? We've 7 other heat winners.
Oh yeah, no, like look, the only thing you would like, we've run out of superlatives for him. Now, like as we've talked about, like we're at that stage now where if he didn't, now I know it's going to take like a missed break or a bump early or whatever it'll take, but the night that he didn't get, if he doesn't get round in front, like he will be in a spot of bother because the, the caliber of greyhounds that will turn behind him, like I know the runs he's doing to the third bend are probably what's causing him. He's only coming home whatever 12:25 or whatever he's coming home in. Do you know what I mean? If he didn't lead a night, like it's like even if he turns second a night, like he will be, you would be holding your breath if you've heavily invested in him at 6-4. Now that's, I don't know what has to happen for that to happen for him not to lead because he just looks untouchable at the moment. Like even if he misses the break, I think even if he gave the rest of the other five dogs he's in with a length start, and you put the best other five dogs in it, I still think there's a chance he'll go around in front. Like that's how good he is to the corner.
Yeah,
But if he didn't, if he turned in second, I would be very, very, you'd just be concerned slightly because you've got some unbelievably talented greyhounds in this derby, and it's not going to be like a first round where you get away with missing the break, and you'd still be like, from like as Tommy said, there's three more runs, and the next three are going to be the hardest three for him. But on all evidence we've seen at the moment, he looks like he'll come through it in flying colours, and who knows. Toono Charlie's streak, it might be short lived because this lad,
yeah.
what price is he to go on to break them streaks now? Like
Well, he's not a big price. Like he's 4-11 to win next week. You'd imagine
that's what I
he
mean.
won't be. He won't be quite 4-11 in a semi-final if he got that far. But like he'd certainly be odds on again. And
Yeah,
and if he's obliged in both of them, it means he's basically beaten everything in the competition. And he's beaten them up. Like he's going to be another short price favorite
I
in the
know. That's
final
what I
if he
mean.
gets that far. You're talking three level starts, and he's probably going to win the derby. That's the way you
Looks
look
like
at
it,
it.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what was I
But
going to touch
no,
on?
Kev, I would echo what Kevin was saying, and like if you turn second, you're probably talking because of the level of competition now.
I personally think
I,
he's
I
okay.
but
Like, yeah,
but no, but I would say I would qualify it. I would qualify it with a couple of things. One, when he missed the kick completely the night there before the derby, he showed a great attitude, showed great tracking ability to get involved. Now, of course, the time was slow, 29.80. If he ends up doing 29.80 in this derby, he's out. He's going to finish fifth or sixth. But he also showed a great attitude when he was on the outside of the Seven Beach to beat him in his first was it his first 550, I think. That's what I loved about it. He showed a great
that's the
battle.
run. That's the run.
Yeah, that now eh, this is much stronger than take. He was taking on one dog that night. He'd be taking on
Yeah.
five dogs in the next three, each of the next three rounds if he
But
qualifies.
you're also
So
talking if he doesn't get to the front, he's done something wrong, right? Shall we say? And in essence, he'll have something to aim at, and he probably won't be using. He probably wouldn't have used up as much energy as purely getting away. He's doing 12:31 home the other night. If he's not in front, I've no doubt there's a 12:20 in him. Now, there's very few dogs going to pick you up if you're doing a 12:20 home.
what's he do the other night?
12:31.
Okay. Mm.
When you consider like
I think
Scooby Pacemaker came home at 11:97 in the
yeah,
previous round.
I think there's a lot of dogs in that'll come home quicker than 12:20. I think there's an awful lot of dogs
Oh no,
in.
yeah, yeah, but quicker. Yeah,
Okay.
but like not 10 lengths, not 10 spots
No,
quicker.
I not say that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Like if he's
and
turning
and,
second,
and they're gonna have to get around him.
if
That's
he's second, if he is now, like I'm saying, it's unlikely he'll be second. But if he was second, it's very unlikely that the dogs in behind him will have to make up even three lengths on him. Like you look at the likes of Scooby Pacemaker, Balnabula Jim, Bob, Callaway Nagara, and Kennegair, Undulation. Like they're all going to rattle 12 seconds home. Like every one of them that I've mentioned will rattle 12 seconds home. Like even doing a 12:20, like they only have to be within three lengths. If you're second at the second bend, there's still no guarantee you'll be in front of the third bend, and there could be trouble between the front two with the third bend, which we see. I'm only saying, genuinely, if he does everything from all I've seen so far, I think he'll win the derby. I think he's that good. I think I think something he'll either have to cause it himself, or he'll have to be very unlucky to get bumped on the run to the bend. Because for everything I've seen, even Bombay Pat, who when you put the gun to my head in the first round, I said I'd rather him on what I saw that night. But now, like he looks in another league. Like he just looks in a different league to the corner. So for him not to go around in front, something freakish I think will have to happen. But if that does, and even if he turns second, and like you said, the night of Seven Beach, I think it was one of the best races I've ever seen. I'm not saying he'll throw in the towel. God, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in this derby, with the level of dogs that if they turn within 2 to 3 lengths of him, it's going to be, and that would be the same for any front runner. But I don't think the likes of Ballina
Yeah,
Jim.
but you're not allowing for the fact that if he enters the back straight two in front of the
Mm.
third, he could well be three or four in front of the third bend. Like this fella's not doing 60 and 63 because he's lightning quick to
Oh
the
yeah,
opening
no, I'm
corner. Like he's absolutely
burning it.
thundering down the back straight. Like
Oh yeah.
he's leaving, like he's after taking 2 lengths off Carrigaldo down the back straight. Like,
Mm.
there's probably not another dog in the Derby, probably not
No.
the dog in the plant could do that.
Yeah.
Like this is how good he is, and even if he does turn second, shall we say, like it's going to take a hell of a greyhound to hold him into the third bend. And like as Tommy alluded to, he's shown that attitude. He's shown like this is not a one-trick pony. It just so happens that his main trick is, pretty nuclear. Like it's pretty unbelievable, but like he's shown a more than willing attitude. The 1, 2, 3 nights he hasn't led. Like we're talking, one of them's on debut, another one's in the second ever start. He was led by Broadstrand Sid in the final down in Kilkenny, I believe. And then you're talking that night in Shelburne Park where Seven Beach headed him briefly. Like, but aside from that, he has never been led.
Mm.
And who's to say, that he couldn't turn third and still qualify, or even fourth, because he might still be second by the third bend. So I know what you're saying. It's going to take something freakish for him to be in a position where he's really under pressure halfway. But like I think I touched upon it. I'm not sure if it was in this forum or with yourself last week where I said of the dogs remaining, there's not too many that are cutting in or cutting out. Everything's pretty straight. We have a few that when they get space in front, they're edging towards the bend. One of them is Bako's Diamond. Like you look at his line around the opening two bends, like you can see why they had him or toyed with the idea of having him as an inside seed. Like he's about a
Mm.
foot off the fence around the first two bends. Like he's absolutely tight to the wire. So listen, it's interesting to see. We're talking about how to get him beaten, and at the moment, I think it's up for the rest of them to talk about how do we beat him
Yeah,
rather than how do we get him beaten.
Mm.
it is because Kevin is right. Like we're kind of all of the agreement. Kind of has to do it himself at this stage, and
Yeah,
all these big runs can take a toll. 28.94 is bound to have left some mark. He might be tired this morning. He might be tired tomorrow morning. But he uh he looked so much more professional in the last couple of rounds, particularly the other night, just the way he's trapping. Again, it's not flying out of box, which I love. I don't want it. I don't want the yoke to absolutely depend on coming out under the bars. I want something that it can accelerate instantly. And that's what he seems to have, which should, in theory, if things go right, should get you out of trouble most nights. When you have the acceleration he has, it should get you out of trouble. It should get you clear around the bend nearly every night. So look at there are lots of factors. There are draws to come, and if he qualifies past the quarterfinals, he could potentially be in a race. It's not going to happen, but he could be potentially be in a race with five inside or wide seats if they all qualified.
yeah. No,
Five and four.
listen, it could definitely happen. Like we're getting to a point where, like, I don't know, the inside seeds are still like crazy short to win. I'm just looking at that 330 though. I can't remember the last Greyhound to break 330. It's a long time ago. Um, and
Susie or Pastana didn't do it. I don't know.
no, like Susie has a 331. Pastana had a 332. He'd a couple of 332s. Like, I can't remember. There was a 329. It was a clone of Blaze or something. Did a clone of 329 one time. I'm not sure. But it was only a couple of weeks before the Derby we were saying that opening section has gone back. Like it was just
Yeah.
5, 10 spots back, and here we are
Yeah,
now.
he
Again, you
thinks
get
he'll
into the
rewrite things.
Derby and things just arrive. Listen, we've spent half an hour on one heat nearly. Let's move on. We have a little bit to discuss. Yeah, Bako's Diamond. I think it's safe to say he's a deserving Derby favourite. Let's move on, and we'll go heat by heat at this point. Second heat, Ballymacbriar made the most of it in the inside draw. I was sweetening him in the second round. Didn't happen for me. Of course, I didn't follow in on Saturday night. He wins in 29.68. It was certainly an eventful contest. Our thoughts go out to Bubbly Shadow's connections to the Champagne Club and of course to Brendan Matthews. But Brendan has other things to be worrying about at present. The laddie da got squeezed early. Get a lovely seam, went second, looked like he was going to pick up BallyMacBriar after the opening bend traffic. Scooby Pacemaker arrived with an unbelievable rush into the third bend. Tarzan Masai, he had no chance to get involved. And Six Deadly Choice, he was too far back. He was running on strongly as well. But BallyMacBriar was a good winner, Kevin. He made the most of the draw. I thought the laddie that would beat him off the second bend, I'll be honest. And probably the racing the same line, and I think that may have just affected Laddie there, whereas he didn't accelerate into the spots where he could normally. But Scooby Pacemaker again caught the eye, absolutely flashed into the third bend and stayed on really strongly. But in the end, BallyMacBriar held on by a head and a short head.
Yeah, look, like you said, he made the most of that inside draw. We sort of he didn't flash again, but we're sort of still waiting for that. He's just gone under the radar, really. Like he's up. I'm not saying it's a similar running style because they're contrasting, but almost like Gizmo in the English one this year. Like he's just chipped away, chipped away, chipped away, and all of a sudden could end up in a semi final or something like that. So he's running really well. I thought he was beaten twice. I thought the laddie that going into the third bend, I thought would have been no offers. I really thought that just didn't run the bottom two bends particularly well. Like you said to me the other night, maybe everywhere the laddie that wanted to be, BallyMacBriar was, and he just couldn't get around him, or he just seemed to lose momentum. Whatever it was, he just didn't. Like he just before the third bend, like I think the laddie that is going to go on and win by two or three lengths and put down another marker following on from the week before, but just never really ran the bottom bends particularly well at all. And then again, I thought Scooby Pacemaker was going to beat BallyMacBriar. So twice in the same race, I expected BallyMacBriar to get beaten, and he still stuck it out to the line. So he's a real gutsy young dog, and Liam's getting a good tune out of him at the moment. And I still don't think he's put it all together. Like the clock tells you that 29.68. Like this definitely has a sub 29.40 run in him, when he does everything right. But I really like his attitude. I thought he was beaten twice, and he still managed to hang on. And again, Scooby Pacemaker showed all his gears back in second. And the laddie that, whatever it was down around the bottom two bends, he showed us last week. He still has everything there, and it's not too long ago that he was an English Derby champion. And the longer he stays in it, whether you've got Bako time or any other dog in the competition, you've always got to have one eye on the laddie that, because we know how brilliant he is when he does things right, and he's in great hands as well. So I wouldn't discount his chances at all yet.
Tommy.
The 29.68 isn't really reflective of how good the dogs are in that he's BallyMacBriar. I agree with Kevin. Like when a dog can do 203, 206, 210, they're not reflected in a 349. They're not the same. They're early.
He has a 28.05 in his card, and he's probably staying better now than he did back then. So
He
there's no
definitely
question there's a 29.30 odd there in his card, certainly.
There's definitely 29.30 odd is right. The laddie dad, same thing as Kevin. I mean, when you go back from a 335 to a 350 something, which you did the other night, that's where you're this is that highlights exactly what I was saying. But if you lose a length, okay, he's losing probably 2.5 lengths early. How much trouble that gets you into? The knock-on effect of losing the length or the 2 lengths early. It just impacted his run. He couldn't do a 29.30 like the previous week, but he was always qualifying. And that's all you want at this stage. He was always qualifying. It's like Kevin will be saying the same when we get to Bob. It doesn't matter if he finishes third, second, or first in these heats as long as he's in the final.
Yeah, keep your name in the hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't think there's an awful lot much more to add about that. The laddie that, to be honest, I feared from him. I feared for him because the draw, I
I
really
saw
didn't
your
like it.
prices. In fairness to
Yeah,
your prices were
I,
strong on that. Yeah.
I really didn't fancy him. I really didn't. I really thought, unless he absolutely rocketed out like he had done the previous week, I really didn't like the draw. As it was, if he had started the way Bubbly Shadow was obviously feeling something into the opening corners, the fact that he broke down the back straight suggests that had he been upsides Bubbly Shadow, it was game over. It was actually nearly lucky he didn't hit the lids because he probably wouldn't have had the early speed to clear a Bubbly Shadow. you know, I always refer back to the quarterfinal where Bypass Byway qualified in third. There's always that one run where you go, that could have been so different, but we're still in the hat. And this was it for the laddie da. Moving on to Heat 3, Untold Dollar did win. Um, and my frustration continues. I think he has untold talent, this Greyhound, but he again missed the kick. He is moving well into the opening corner to get into a lovely position to drive his way through. He didn't drive his way through, but he still managed to nudge Is She There into Glengar Martha, who then gave Seven Beach an all merciful wallop. He recovered very well to go second, but Untold Dollars left in front. And thereafter, you saw him in full flow. He's purring like a Ferrari from the second bend. He wins in 29:34 off of 17:24. He's doing a 12:10 home, runs that third bend so fluently. No dog in front of him. But again, keep saying it, Tommy. Unless this dog finds his trapping, his landing gear, his derby's going to end with a whimper sooner rather than later. He's got to find the landing gear.
His derby will end this weekend if he doesn't find it, because there's competition there. And we talk about Ballymac Briar, who's in two against him next week, who has a chance to get in front of him and get across them and everything. Look, good attitude in terms of the way, to go on. Okay, he didn't drive the first bend as you said, but he caused enough kind of a knock on effect by trying to go through to some degree at the first bend. And again, the race is over once he slipped around. But you'd have to love the professionalism, as we talked about week in, week out, about Seven Beach, because
Yeah.
that's a hefty bump. And to recover his stride with such intent, like he when he got that bump, he never thought about, oh, I've got to right myself. He was still trying to go forward and chase that hare. That's what he was trying to do, because some dogs will they'll flounder and then eventually find their stride again. He never broke stride, Seven Beach, despite the fact that he was being knocked sideways. Love that dog. Love his attitude. And to finish second, be beaten 6 lengths. I know it was only a 4 dog heat and whatever else. He ran his heart out. But Untold Dollar, I think, like, you're right. Like he's not a Derby winner, but you're right that he's got a lot of ability, and there's more than that he showed. 29:34 is a hell of a run, despite the fact that it's 40 spots off the fastest heat of the night. But it's still a hell of a run, and there's more to come. But he just needs to do it earlier, or he will go out this weekend.
I've no doubt if he had popped out, let's say he leads a half length from Trap Rise, right? He's doing a 29:10. Like he could have
Oh
been
yeah,
the second fastest qualifier. But again, and maybe I'm just holding on to hope because, obviously I have a few nibbles on him. But his only sectional going through his whole career where you go, well, that was fast. Actually, there was a couple of them. He did a 320 in Cork the night he did the 27:93, and he did a 285 in Clonmel, which is good. It's not 320 in Cork. But
the
outside of
length of
that,
10 spots off.
yeah, I don't know what the 458 is like for Cork in this 550, Tommy. Is that okay?
Not sure. Very
Yeah.
few 550s.
So you look at his last four starts at Shelburne: 346, 347, 348, 347. He's like, you can't say he's not consistent, but yet it doesn't look like he's sort of starting with any real fluency. It just frustrates me. Kevin, we spoke about it the other evening. You spoke about Seven Beach, and you pointed out like he's 68 pounds. Sorry, he was 69 pounds the other evening. Like he's the size of a decent sized bitch, and for him
Yeah.
to recover from that belt tells you all you want to know about him. But Untold Dollar is an immensely talented greyhound, but just wish he could find that extra length of trap rise.
Oh yeah, don't we all? Don't we all? I do think I'd like to find a length that boxes most nights. So, um, look, I like him. I think he's got a lot of going for him. The length of the boxes, I think, can happen. I'd be more just the easing at the first bend. Now maybe they go hand in hand, that if he got that, they wouldn't have to do that. But he does sort of sometimes see the trouble coming and try to take a step back, and that's what's going to cost you. That,
And that's been the case at the third bend as well as the first bend. Like
yeah.
it's something that's in there.
Yeah, and Callaway Kennegair, I think, has done that once or twice at the third bend, and that can just be a confidence thing. Do you know what I mean? And I know you're saying he eased off, but was able to push the four, and it might just come down to that. He might have got the confidence from that the other night that okay, things didn't go. I didn't up on the wrong side of it, so he might be a bit braver the next night. Look, I think he's got a huge engine, and I also come back to, and I was saying this to you, Ian, the minute we got off air last week. Like, if you said to me that we're going to have 29, 15, 16, 18, 29, 22, or whatever, all these runs done, and not one of them were going to be within 6, 7 points of the favorite on the betting. Like, you'd have
Yeah.
laughed. And I do think, like, you see this 29-34 run in any other year, we're raving about it. Like, raving about it. But it's because of what the dog did in the first heat, that all the other runs just felt subpar. So, like, to know what to do with 347, not be overly aggressive driving through at the first bend and still post 29:34, I'd be happy if I had the dockets for him. I wouldn't be too concerned. He's got the engine there, and I think he will battle away and be thereabouts. Seven Beach, I run out of superlatives for. He's a dog I absolutely love. I really do. And Jennifer has done an unbelievable job with him. I do think that he's probably not the sexiest profile dog, and I think that's probably why people don't talk about him as much. He was campaigned below in the likes of Thurles and things like that. She kept him away from Shelburne and maybe went under the radar. And it took that run against Baco's Diamond before the Derby for people to really appreciate him. And he's done nothing but add to that since. And like you said there, he's only 69, 68 pounds away. He can take a bump, he can lead, he can stay on, he does everything. And I think he's in with Bacchus again the next night. We saw what happened when they went into battle before. So, and he's the type of dog that'll always be a big price. But if you are looking at very, very short odds on a Bacchus dog next week, I'd have no problem sticking my fiver on him because he won't let you down. He'll give you a
Yeah.
run. Whether he's good enough is another thing. And then is she there? Like, what can you say? Like, she's got lovely early pace. It was only a 4 dog heat, but connections won't mind. They're in the quarterfinal of a derby.
She's clinging in there. In hindsight's 2020 and all that, I wonder, do they wish they had changed the seeding of Seven Beach before the third round to middle seed? I think if you stuck him in four with the early pacers in 5 and 6, he can hold his pitch and go round. But obviously he's not going to be holding Baco's Diamond off a level start into the opening corner. But it could have been a little bit different if he was on the other side of him. But that's for another day. It has been discussed. Heat four. It was one of those contests. It's the type of contest, Tommy, where you watch and you go, I have to write a report on that. Oh, like there's so
Oh,
much
God
going
love
on.
you.
How in God's name
Get
do you
the
have to write a
violin,
report on that?
Tommy.
But
Yeah.
listen, I tried it the other evening to describe it to the best of my ability. A Lucky Julie took a flyer. She does lack the couple of yards
She
into
does
the
break
opening
though, yeah.
corner.
She does break though.
Yeah, March on Freddie charged up the outside. He's gone around a Lucky Julie, but I think he got a clip on the heels from her, and then Grange Clare lady compounded it after she didn't get her flyer, but she arrived at a rush into the opening corner. All of a sudden, she drifts off after taking the bump, and Toono Charlie has gone through the gap, and you think home and host, he's winning 6 or 8 lengths from here, and I've watched it 10 times, and it was only probably my last two viewings that I sort of spotted something that I think he spotted something. I was on a WhatsApp group yesterday accusing him of this and that, and I said I'm absolutely not having it. I don't think there was anything aggressive whatsoever in the situation because
Oh no,
he wasn't diving right to hit something. He actually put the brakes on and jumped right, which means that he either got clips or hits a false apart ground, which is less likely. But the way he eased and then jumped right suggested he had spotted something, and there you are. Ball burst, game over. He actually runs a remarkable race to finish as close as he did in fourth spot. Meanwhile, Extra Gain is left in front. We know what happens here. Extra Gain's on the bunny. Strong, strong runner. And yes, he really had to dig in himself because March on Freddie showed all sorts of pace to recover. He's only beaten a half length. A Lucky Julie comes home like an absolute express train with Toono Charlie coming home like an express train. It was a strange heat, a remarkable heat, a thrilling heat, and I think there was one or two things you can take out of this heat. I went to look at the price of a Lucky Juliet this morning, thinking there's a bit of juice in her price yet. Like the way she ran home was very, very impressive. I was also very impressed with March on Freddie, and this Extra Gain is still there. He's still pitching, but like he's going to be 20 to 1 for his heat next week. So sum it up, Tommy. It's not easy.
I think Toono Charlie, what happened there is either the clock on the wall that they kind of the brightness at, or it's just the fact that at the escape and the dog in front, the Grange Clare bitch kind of moves off a little bit to on top of March on Freddie, just a little bit, nothing in or just drifting off a little bit the second bend, and he's come from a position where he's not seeing the hair because he's in behind Greyhounds, and when they move off, I suggest that he's nearly following them, thinking, hey, what are they moving off here for? There must be something here, must be stopped here or something. So he's reacting to that. I don't think there's anything untoward about it whatsoever.
No,
I didn't
no.
think it at the time. I'm surprised that people think there is something untoward about it. I never crossed my mind, and I watched the race over and over and over
Yeah, yeah,
over the
yeah.
course of the weekend. I never thought that. Like he's a 101 if he goes on a length there.
I
He's a
tell you
101
what,
the race.
I tell you what, I think I'd take a bit of that 101.
Yeah, like it's just unfortunate. I don't know what to make of the race. Extra Game when he hit the front down the back. I mean, I don't think there was any dog in training that was going to come from behind him. I mean, he's going to beat you. March on Freddie ran well, but March on Freddie caused that first bend trouble by cutting in tight. We talked about the potential for it, and sometimes a dog will do it when they're so far superior, like he was in the first round, and he cut across. it doesn't matter because you're thinking, are they just moving in there because of space? Or are they moving in there because that's the way they race? It seems now that that's the way he races. He's going
Yeah.
to cut in across the bend, regardless of whether there's five dogs inside him or no dog inside him. So he kind of caused that trouble in.
He probably did think he was clear of a Lucky Julie, and I think she just caught his
I,
heels
I'm look,
before
don't read
before a Grange Clare lady ran into him.
look, don't read this as being harsh on Marsh and Freddie. This is just been trying to be clinical because we're trying to find the winner of a derby and we're getting to the nuts and bolts of it now. 3 rounds left. He's a seriously fast, incredibly fast dog. And but we know he had to put it all together right to show that. He did run really well to push Extra Gain, who's an incredibly strong stayer, push him to half a length. But Lucky Julie has shown massive pace. Toono Charlie is, but again, it's something you touched on earlier on, and I don't know if people would have picked up on it. But you're talking when you're talking about Bako's Diamond, and if he's in behind, he's not using up the same sort of energy early because he's obviously been held up in his run somewhat. So it's a 29.82 run as well, and the dog's finishing it.
Yeah.
Extra Gain doesn't have an extra gear. He just grinds out. So when he hit the front, it was going to take a fair performance to get by him. But I'm not surprised that they got a bit closer to him because I don't think he's a dog with massive acceleration at any point in the race. He just grinds it out at it.
It's somewhat surprising that he's only coming home in 12. What are we talking? 12:23. Like you'd expect him to be coming home in 12 seconds.
I still think he's a dog that's better suited by dogs being in front of him to that point,
Yeah,
pulling him into the race a bit more.
absolutely, yeah,
And
yeah,
I think he's better suited to that style right now. I think he's not going to be flying. And if a dog like him, gets any bit of trouble in a race, a little bit of a bump air, a little bit of, it just takes that bit of time to get into top gear. He's a really fast dog, and he's the type of dog actually. He might be the type of dog that could be in a derby final without us ever really talking much about him. That sort of way
yeah.
because of his ability to stay on. So it's a hard race to assess. It's very unfortunate for Toono Charlie, but like we know March on Freddie is capable of a much clearer, cleaner, better run. We know Lucky Julie is entitled to still be improving run on run.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can back her in because if you do, you're up against your other favorite Greyhound in training, untold dollar next week. So
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, it's all right. Kevin's already offered me even money about Toono Charlie for 750 Derby final night. He's very good that way. Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, I don't think there's much point in coming to me because I thought Tommy summed that up the best I've heard since the race. Really, because I went back and watched it.
Thanks for that.
No, I went back and watched the race after me and your review on Saturday night, and I think Tommy making reference to whether it was the clock or the escape and the movement of Grange Clare Lady. I think that's exactly what Toono Charlie has done. I think, and Tommy's saying there that when Grange Clare Lady stepped out of his view and he's gone from a wall of dogs in front of him to being clear sighted, I don't think he's ever copped the hair. And I think the movement of Grange Clare Lady and March on Freddie drifting over towards the escape led him to believe that, oh, the hare's gone into the escape.
Yeah.
And it's too convenient. That was what struck me when I watched the replay back again a couple of times after our review on Saturday night. It's too convenient for it to have happened at that point, right at the escape, where she's made the movement. He has thought that the hare has obviously got into the escape, and that's where he's gone for. He made no attempt to interfere
It's
with.
it's genuinely heartbreaking though.
That's
Like
my
it's genuinely heartbreaking.
yeah,
Like this was the story of the year,
yeah.
and it was quickly developing into the story of the Derby. How far could Toono Charlie do? And for it
What he
to be
done last
taken
week.
that way,
No,
heartbreaking.
and Sharon had messaged me on the way home on Saturday night, just to say what I thought, whatever, and I said it, and I said it to her. I said the Derby. Well, we obviously have Bako's Diamond, and we're going to have a great Derby winner, but it is a slightly lesser competition for Toono Charlie not being in it, and that's just like you said from the
Yeah,
storyline point of view. Everyone wanted to see him do well, and my God, the run he done last week behind the Bako's dog. Like, how are you going to keep him out of frame? I just wanted to know what clock he would have done. Like, when he was left in front,
yeah.
what time would he have done? Like, he'd have rattled.
yeah,
But anyway, look, we'll never know. And there's fierce sporting connections, and we've seen it. And anyone that says that they made the wrong decision, I
no,
completely disagree. I think it was a
no,
brave decision. I think he proved in the second round how right the decision was. And apart from that freak incident, he was walking through into the quarterfinals. And make no mistake about it, whether you have Bako's Diamond, BoyleSports Bob, or any other dog in it, you didn't want to own a Charlie in your heat because
yeah.
he was taking up one of the first three positions.
And as Tommy already alluded to, nine wide or nine wides and five middles.
Yeah, he
Like,
would have been drawn from all
an
three.
inside seed is for once one of the places where you're nearly guaranteed a good draw.
Yeah,
Like he was guaranteed one, two, or three in a heat where there was going to be something to aim at every night. Just, oh,
I know.
heartbreaking, heartbreaking. Anyway, well done to Extra Gain, to March on Freddie and Lucky Julie. They progress, and their derby continues, and the dream is alive. On to Heat 5. Our pal Kevin, everyone's pal, Big Jim on the outside. God, there's so much to like about this Greyhound. That's it, Jack and Hotwood both came away racing from the middle of the track. And it's easy to ignore dogs because, I've 16 to 1 each of them on the card. And they were 16 to 1 chances in this race because of the strength that was around them. But you seem to forget that they can do things. Like these dogs can run. And both of them got racing. And all of a sudden, it's a very different contest, right? Dynamic Force is attempting to get around Hotwood, who just stayed his line, and Dynamic Force is just trying to edge off wide, and himself and Ballabula Jim bumped once, bumped twice. Force doesn't get the run on the corner. Jim has finally got a little bit of room, so the last 20 yards into the bend and drives. And by God, does he drive. But he drove like a 90-pound ballerina. Like he was just so graceful and so stealthy in his movements. Like how a 90-pound dog can recover that quickly from that bump to lead as early as he did was remarkable. He's just a freak of a greyhound. He's now 7 on the bounce. Oh, there was so much to like about him. And of course, the Bull Falcon gets a lovely dream run in behind. And from not to pick up Balnabola Jim tells you exactly how strong the leader is because the Bull Falcon runs a hell of a race. And then, of course, we had another dead heat. Like the buses, you wait for one and, two come at once. Sing Along Dolly and Hot Wood. And your heart goes out to the connections of Hotwood because he did everything right. They did everything they needed to do with him. They got him out of traps, get him in a perfect position, and he's nutted on the line. Not nutted, but like he's joined on the line by Sing Along Dolly, who then goes through on a coin toss. She actually runs a remarkable race to get third. She looked out with the washing off the second bend, but an incident-packed contest. But the Balnabola Gym juggernaut continues to roll on, Kevin.
It does, and I suppose what started off as a bit of a not a bit of a joke, like it was never anyone was calling him a joke or anything, but he's becoming he's every week 7 in a row. Like I'll tell you one thing, you go to Shelburne Park 7 Saturdays in a row and try and win one of the 7, you'll be
Yeah.
doing well, and then and 3 of them being in the Derby as well. But like I think you summed him up well, calling like he is a 90 odd pound weight dog or up against 90 pound weight, and we don't really see too many of them, especially not at the top table anyway. But he's able to use his body very well. He's able to put himself in positions. You can often see them when they're that big, or even when they're even smaller than that. Big dogs can often any sort of bump or any sort of misstride can be exaggerated, and they might just lose their balance quicker than smaller dogs. But he looks to have wonderful balance. He looks to know exactly what he's doing at all times. He's in control of all of his movements, and I'll tell you one thing, he's absolutely running out of his skin. Brendan Murphy has done an incredible job with this dog. I don't think there's a more informed dog in the country running in any track than there.
This dog lost all condition after the English Derby. He came back, he didn't handle the place, he didn't like the experience, came back, lost all his condition, and Pat Buckley actually sent him back to Brendan and said, just nurse that dog along. And here we are. Like his last defeat came in the semi-finals of that dual distance, the upcoming Yvonne Barry Open dual
Mm.
distance, and he was 16 to 1 when he finished last. Like he was 16 to 1 behind Ryhope Beach, the 15 to 8 favorite. JT Craze was in a dashing Toro, Randolph Scott's and Scooby Pacemaker. He was the rank outsider at 16 to 1. You put the same race together next
Yeah,
week
well,
over the same trip
what
at,
price
on current form, he's odds on.
Oh, he would be, yeah.
It's amazing what a matter of a month and a half, 2 months makes for a greyhound, but he's absolutely flying. Tommy Balnabola Jim.
I've always seen dog that's 90 pound, and when you see him running over 600 yards, you think that's about right. And then you kind of disregard him and say, look, he's coming back, and sure, why not go for the derby? Sure, look, let him fill up the field, let him be a part of that. And then he starts to produce performances like he has been doing. I mean, 29:39 is a brilliant run considering a bump and the whole lot. But like the 29:07 the previous week, which I didn't think was in him, I'll be honest about it. I said it last week. Um, he like again highlighting a thing that I've touched on a lot. he goes from 338 to 342. It's only half a length, but it makes such a difference on the clock, on the end clock.
And he
It
would have
makes
done it 338 nearly only
Mhm.
for himself and dynamic force were sort of rubbing
Yeah.
shoulders all the way into the corner. Yeah.
and it's unfortunate for dynamic force because you don't want to be coming up against a 90-pound dog if you're going to have a if you're going to pick on somebody, at least pick on somebody a little bit smaller. Come on, you want to have a
It's
chat with
funny.
dynamic
It's
force, Kevin.
funny. Every time I've seen him, and listen, I know him. I know he's 90 pounds. Like I'm so used to him. Like Jesus, I've probably commentated on him 20 times at this stage, but he doesn't race like a 90-pound dog. He doesn't look like a 90-pound dog. I've never been up close to him, but I'd imagine he just must be just
I
all muscle. He just must be as hard as the a cement wall, like.
I often like to say when you see a smallish dog, a dog in the 60 pounds, and you look, you go, 68 pounds or 67 pounds, you go, he races like a bigger dog. That's what you like. But when they're 90 pounds, you like them
Yeah,
to race like a smaller dog.
yeah.
Yeah. And he does that. He's you know what? Actually, the Bull Falcon ran a hell of a race.
Hell of
Hot
a,
wood, in
we have to
fairness.
talk about it because I spoke about BoyleSports Bob and a Lucky Julie. Like I would imagine the Bull Falcon is in a lot of people's sort of, I hate to use the term portfolio, but he's looking every inch the each way sort of Greyhound as well. Another one of them.
I would say that I thought Hotwood ran a hell of a race to come back again. To be beaten only three and a half lengths in total. I know it's unlucky to go out the Derby with the toss of a coin, but like I thought that ran a hell of a race as well to actually because going down the back, you're thinking, well, Hotwood now is probably going to fade away. We finished fourth or fifth, and actually ran a cracking race to be beaten as little as it did. But the Ball Falcon, I mean, you say he got a dream run. He made that run for himself down to the third bend to get up inside Hotwood, and you're thinking
I'm
Ballyball
talking
Jim,
more about I'm talking about more about the opening corner.
the one,
He
yeah.
shows,
But
but he is clever. He looks like a dog who has been led a lot in his career and is
doesn't
now picking the spots. He just knows when to hang back, when to make his move. When the gap's open, he's gone, and I love that about a
doesn't
greyhound.
doesn't seem to do an awful lot in a rush. It's kind of it's a gradual pickup, and it's just like, but
He's
then you
not
look in
taking
front,
what he's rushing
but you
home.
look, you look at battling the ball to Jim in front, and then you're going, actually, to be closing him down to half a length, it's a fair effort. It's a huge
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan, Kevin. You've spoken about the Bull Falcons since that first round. Like, how are we keeping him out of the final?
Yeah, and we touched on it earlier with all the wide seeds that are going to keep going through. Like, there's a chance he'll line up in trap one, possibly in semi-final and a final of a derby. Like, and for a dog that wouldn't be blessed with early pace, like that's exactly where he'll want to be, tight to the fence, nothing on his inside. Hold the pitch going around the bend, and he's going to be very difficult to keep out of frame. Like, Sing Along Dolly, I thought ran the most remarkable race again of all because I was really disappointed that she didn't get to clear the Bold Falcon. Like, like the two, like we know what he's like to the corner. Like he's cleared her into the bend. Like he's cut her off. So like he's gone three parts of length or a length in front of her on the run to the bend, which
She seems to be one that when she gets her ping, she
yeah
shows more early than when she
doesn't
misses
get
it or
it.
doesn't get a flyer and she sees dogs around her. It's like I'm
Yeah,
already waiting for my turn.
yeah, because
And
I was very disappointed that she got led three parts of a length or a length by the Bold Falcon, but then he's cut her off, and then off the second bend she's got no run, and in my opinion she was a million at the second bend, and to get back up to battle her way to get that dead heat, and look, it comes down to a coin toss. Desperately sad for Hot Wood, but for her to go through, I thought she done savage running from that point. I think the more we go on, she'll need to start pinging a bit more because if the ping is the good, if you're going to the bend the length behind the ball Falcon most nights, you're not going to stay in this competition too much longer because like if you're behind the ball Falcon, you're going to be behind probably them all.
yeah, she's gonna need a ping on Saturday night. She's in Heat too. Tommy, Bombay Pat. He did 17:03 to the third bend, having taken it up about a stride before that third bend sectional clock. He didn't. He again, like his sectionals are only that of Untold Dollar, like those mid 340s. But I think this was arguably his best run. I thought the way he went down the back straight with such purpose was very telling. 29:30, 17:03. I think he is a proper greyhound. We've known that for quite some time, but I think this was another string to his bow. Like I know you'd seen him in Cork coming from off the pace, but like this is very different company, and I he remains a serious Derby challenger.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways of looking at it. Uh, are you concerned that in a better heat that if he does that again, which he obviously can do, is he going to be behind three dogs at the first bend? He's basically down the back. Himself and Callaway Kinnegar are effectively going the exact same, stride for stride almost. He's a length in front of Callaway Kinnegar, and they're staying like that all the way down the back, which in itself is impressive.
Yeah, hugely impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, which is impressive in itself. But I love the fact, like we don't know what will happen exactly at this level of competition. We know Bacchus Diamond has a great attitude, right? We don't know what will happen if he found himself in that position, going down the back. What would happen? But Bombay Pat has shown there's a second string to his bow, because Kevin talked about in the first round, particularly being taken by this dog, his acceleration into the bend, and it was deeply impressive. And at the moment, he looks like a dog that's going to qualify every night. If he's probably a bet at the prices in the heats next Saturday night, he looks like a dog that he can do it right. He can break and absolutely not fly out, but break and fly to the bend. But he can qualify when that doesn't happen, because the other night was a perfect opportunity for him to exit the competition timidly if that's the type of dog he was. He's not. He's a seriously fast dog. Thought Short Grip ran a hell of a race again. Yet again,
Yeah.
you were a big fan of Short Grip for a long time. You
Yeah.
know that much.
Yeah.
And Callaway Kinnegar ran very well until the last 25 yards.
Oh, you didn't like the last 25 yards. It was the third bend that worried me a little bit. I thought he saw it happening and just was waiting for the cut off. Yeah, I will say about Short Grip, she often does kick again. We saw it in the juvenile derby that time. She gets a little bit outpaced in parts, but she absolutely flew again. Now, Callaway Kinnegar is still two and a half lengths off her, turning for home. And what's he beaten? Yeah, he didn't actually find an awful lot in the last 15 yards. Just watch it again there. But she's hammering into the escape. Like, she leads into the escape Short Grip. So, like, while she's
But
a
yeah,
little bit outpaced on the back straight, she is very strong.
the reason I say until the last 25 yards or so is because you're trying to find the Derby winner. I'm not,
Yeah.
you're trying. I'm being ultra critical, like we have been all right through the competition, because we're trying to find the Derby winner. Why
And
somebody
he's not
can't
he's
catch?
not gonna
So
he's not gonna lead those dogs. So if he's going to win the derby, he's gonna have to be
got to get
hammering
by her
home.
at some stage.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. No, I hear you. I hear you. Kevin, Dad there.
Yeah, no, look, I have similar thoughts. Like I said, I've always felt Bottom Bay Pat was probably that bit stronger than the Bacco's dog, which is why I would have went with him
yeah.
tonight in the first round when you asked me to pick one. So I do think that I was less surprised by what he did the other night. I've always felt that he'd have that in his arsenal, that if he turned second or third, it wouldn't bother him. I always would have him that little bit stronger than the Bacco's dog. I think if he ever did take a flyer, he's possibly himself in the likes of Cheap Sandwich, or maybe the only dogs that could get into Bacco's way to the bend, because this dog has brute acceleration out to the corner as well. But he is on what we've seen, he's a far more inconsistent starter than the Cheap Sandwiches or the Bocco's dog. Like, he looks like a dog that will give them a length or a length and a half most nights. But if he ever did take a flyer,
Yeah.
he could do an all merciful run. Short Grip, like, I love her. I'm mad about her. She's just, if you owned her, like, her last five starts in Shelburne. Now, she's been second or third nearly in all of them, but she's been beaten by Cheap Sandwiches, Bacco's Diamond, BoyleSports Bob, Seven Beach, and Bombay Pat. Like, talk about running the gauntlet. Like, and I thought Tommy was perfect earlier on with what he said about Caracaldo. I never got to come in and say it, but I felt the same. I thought the week before his run could have easily broken his heart, and I said it to Connections on Saturday night. Like, I really didn't expect him to battle the way he did. And the same for Short Grip. Like, she's had her heart broken now a couple of nights. Like the night that she was unfortunate enough for Bob to just turn second or whatever, and he picked her up, and she's running to the absolute Ireland's best. Like, if you were to write down your top five or six dogs in the Derby, like, there's your list. And she's come up again him every night, and here she is again. And she's only beaten 2.5 lengths. Like, she's gutsy out. She's as game as a gander. I really, really like her. Callaway Nagare. I would have loved to seen what he would have done if he had run that third bend, because he definitely eased at that point, and I think he was coming to nearly win the race. So whether he would or wouldn't have, like as Tommy said, the last 10 or 15 yards, maybe he wasn't closing as quickly as he could, so maybe he would never have got there. I just thought in running coming to the third bend, I said if this dog doesn't ease, and I said it to you the week before when you said he got chopped at the corner at the third bend, I didn't think he got overly chopped. I thought it was nearly himself easing, and I thought he done exactly the same thing again last week. I think similar to Untold Honor, I think it might just be a confidence thing. He just needs to force his way through nearly once or twice, and I think then he'll gain that confidence like a Ballinaboula Jim, and who knows where it could end. But I think the first three home here, I wouldn't be shocked if any of them or all three of them ended up in the final.
Yeah. Short grip is going to have to do it the hard way. She has, a very, very hot contest to take on the likes
She'll
of
take
Buckles
him on.
Diamond, Seven Beach, Callaway, Kinnegar, and all
Bring him
that.
on.
It'd be interesting. She has gone 356, 341, 340, and 338. She found a 335.
Mhm.
I would still be fancying Bako Diamond leader into the opening quarter, but these are the types, that flying starter that could just upset, the
She's
apple. I
actually
was going to say
she's
the
a,
apple
she's
tart, the
actually
apple cart.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She's actually the type that if she was in a race with Bacchus Diamond, she'd be a help to him because she'd be a buffer between him and the ones behind probably because she doesn't have that pace down the back
Yeah,
that like we saw that the other
he'd
night with
blowholes
Bombay
her down
Pat
the
and
third bench. Yeah,
Callaway Kinnegar, who are two top dogs. They're showing more than she is, but
yeah.
I love the way she stayed on again to the line.
Yeah. Cheap sandwiches, ultra impressive in Heat 7. Really like the manner in which he did this. Hawkville Blue took a flyer. We know how talented he is. A dog at 28.04 and 28.07 last month around Shelburne Park. Hadn't quite got to the front in his previous two starts in the Derby. Saturday night took an absolute flyer from Trap 2. And Cheap Sandwiches raced up to him, ran just the most fluent opening two bends. It was like Scalextrics, just went around them, shot on into a commanding advantage down the third bend. And while Hawkville Blue was rallying in the closing stages, Cheap Sandwiches held on. Held on. He wins by a very comfortable 3 length margin in 29.18. Tommy, I put it to you that this this could be the main danger to Bacchus Diamond. Absolutely love the way this dog has gone about it. His improvement for the step up to 525 or 550 at Shelburne Park in the last month and a half has been very notable. And he is just a dog who's sky high in confidence, and he just seems to be getting better and better every week.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. He hasn't hit me and said, "Yeah, hey, I could win a derby." I still haven't picked that up from him. I really haven't. That's maybe I'm just missing something here because like that wasn't a strong heat the other night. Let's be honest about it. He was entitled to be turning at least second, where he did at least. And probably should be maybe in front, maybe. Um, Hawfield Blue ran very well, but I don't know what it is. He hasn't. I haven't seen the spark of what I want to see yet to win a derby. That's ridiculous from a dog that's just on 29.18. But I he's probably going to make a fool of me. But I just haven't seen it in him. I don't
Yeah,
know what I'm. I don't know what I'm. I don't know what I'm missing.
he's 4-6 win his quarter final,
Yeah,
and genuinely,
exactly.
I think he looks every bit of a bit better every
I'm
inch
not
of 4 to
sure.
6 chance.
I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
he just seems to have it all. I was so impressed. Like he does 12 or 16.92 to the third bend the other evening, Kevin, and
I'd have.
that's having to go round Hawkfield Blue around the opening two bends. Really liked it.
Oh
I,
yeah,
I'd,
look,
I'd have. I'm
Go
sorry,
on.
Kev, but I'd say I'm probably the only fool in Ireland that hasn't spotted it yet. But I just haven't.
Yeah.
Don't know
yeah,
why.
no,
Can't figure it out.
I was very, very impressed with what he done around the first two bends. Now, like Hawkfield Blue, yeah, I'm just a massive fan of this dog. Like I have been for a long, long time. He's the type of dog. I'm not short sighting the Derby here. I'm sure connections are firmly focused on the Derby, but like he's a dog that reminds me of a dog we had back BoyleSports Extra. Like I just think he's a dog that could rock up Winter Festival 525 and just boom out and gone with the ease that Cheap Sandwiches came up sides him and quickly asserted himself was breathtaking to me around the first two bends. We normally talk with these dogs how good bend runners they are when they're on the inside because it sort of looks so extravagant, but this dog just he never relented around the opening two bends and like Hawkfield Blue is a regular 28-second dog in Shelburne from the front. Like if I said to you Hawkfield Blue is best asset to me would always be to the third bend type thing. This lad ragged him around the open two bends and into the back. Now Hawkfield Blue the week before I thought ran a phenomenal race to get back into a position to be only beating two short heads. So I wasn't surprised to see Hawkfield Blue coming back at him. I think he's really in a good Richiana form and Ginger has him flying. I think he's stronger now than he's probably been at any point of his career, which is why the winning distance was still only 3 lengths when it looked off the second bend. It could have been further, but what Cheap Sandwiches did around the opening two bends was phenomenal. How does he win a derby? I think he'll have to, like the majority of them, have to hope that something happens to Bako's Diamond. I don't see off a level start him beating a Bako's Diamond or coming close, well, relatively coming close to him. I think they'll both look for to be in the same position. I think Cheap Sandwich is better when he's in front of the third bend. How does he lead Bakos? It's hard to see it, but if Bakos was to make a mistake at trap rise, it's a Cheap Sandwiches that could just rock it up around the outside and clear him, and it'll be game over from that point. But the acceleration he showed around the open two bends and into the back, I was hugely impressed with. And Hawkville Blue again, a dog of a big fan of. I thought ran a big race back in second. Like he's doing what, 29:40 probably, or 29:39 in
Yeah,
behind,
29:39. This
not
fastest
lead.
his best run probably.
Yeah, and not leading, so or well, you know what I mean, not leading into the back, like so, or doing it from behind. So I thought the first two there ran well.
Yeah. Back in third spot was Mustang Fever. She was beaten a further 3 lengths back. She ran well. She was a 16 to 1 chance. She's a huge price for outright glory. Considering like this, the bitch can do 28-20 for fun, and just sort of goes to highlight what we're looking at in the Derby. She 28-16 around Limerick and 28-20 at Shelburne. So I think that goes to highlight what we're talking about here, Tommy. It's so deep, and margins are going to get so fine, but I really like Cheap Sandwiches. I just really like the way he's been doing it. He just seems to have the pace everywhere, and that's what I like about it. But the way he ran those opening two bends, that'll stick with me for a while now.
And
3:38, just so impressive. I urge you to go back and watch it again.
I watched it numerous times, I was watching the draw being made. I wasn't. I was watching when the heat the quarterfinal draw was put out. I wanted a little bit of surprise rather than just looking at the six dogs together. I was going through one, two, three, four, five, six to see where they were. And when I got to the end of his heat, the one that he got drawn in, I was saying, "Oh, please let this be Bacchus in six. Please let it be Bacchus." And with
Yeah,
cheap sandwich, just because that heat is ripe for the taking. So you know what you're saying about 4 to 6. I don't think he's a 4 to 6 chance in it, but Bacchus Diamond probably would have been a fours on chance in that heat.
yeah. Yeah, if he traps on terms, he goes around two in front. Like it's that side to
Look,
heat. It's the one heat where you want one of the hot favorites to be drawn in six, as you said.
nobody listens to my stupidity anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I might be talking into an echo chamber. It's cheap sandwiches can go and win the derby, and they can mock me all they want. I don't know what it is, Ian. I just haven't seen it yet. I'm sure I'm wrong, but I'm just I'll reserve judgment just yet.
Yeah. Tommy dismisses the third favorite for Derby Glory. On to Heat 18, where
Isn't that what I do, Ian? Isn't that what I do? No.
where Undulation came home in front. Kevin, we spoke about this the other evening. This won't come as any consolation to the Matthews family who lost. Brendan lost his daughter. Damien Plunkett, Glenn Gary, Paul. They lost a sister. Her children. Certainly Niall is a regular at Shelburne Park, deeply involved in the Greyhounds and Sean. Um, you know, this is no consolation to the Matthews family. Our heart goes out to them at this very tough time. But listen, in 2 or 3 weeks' time, it would be great if Undulation was still there. Um, I said it the other night. It's outside the hall door, Greyhound Racing. These are dogs after all,
Mm.
and we love them, and our heart is in them, and like this is in terms of us, it's all we know. But I'm sure they would have swapped the
Mm.
success for to have Jacqueline with them. But listen, it was poignant. They lost Bubbly Shadow earlier in the card. So it's just my God, the emotions. But Undulation, this, as Tommy described her last week, my cliff dog. Sadly, I didn't go off the cliff with her on Saturday night. But as early as the second bend, this was game over. Ball burst. Check for Cash, I thought showed terrific early speed. YI Bonnie Lad took an absolute flyer from trap two, and Check for Cash just raced up to him and cut across him, and that was that. He showed terrific early speed, but Undulation. As a result of Check for Cash cutting across and cutting off YI Bonnie Lad, Undulation finds herself a close second, and with Bob then advancing into third. But as fast as BoyleSports Bob is, Kevin, he's after giving them a start, and he's still doing 29:23. He's not picking up Undulation. We touched upon it the other evening. He probably found himself in behind her as well, and by the time he went to stick or twist, it didn't matter anyway. He wasn't getting there, but like it sort of just confounded the fact that he wasn't getting to her.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. It was a phenomenal run from her. Like I noticed it last week when I was on the stand that she's quite erratic in the boxes. Now she's the one maybe you wouldn't want your Bako's diamond drawn with. Like I
I meant
can't.
to say that to you. I watched it yesterday. She wasn't bouncing for the last 2 or 3 seconds, though she did put a paw briefly,
If
but
you
she
stand,
wasn't bouncing the last 2 or 3 seconds.
you'll never. She from the minute she goes into the boxes, she
Yeah,
starts.
yeah, yeah,
She's
yeah.
barking. She's up and down. No, I'm not saying she's the only one, or that loads of greyhounds can do it. She does it. Now, if you've got your regular starter, you wouldn't really want her drawn in the heat with you. Um, but she was being like that, and I think her last two splits are what 356, 358, and she does it 340 or 340 something like. If she does that
340, yeah.
340, if she does a 340 any night and gets a run, I don't know, like she'll rattle anyone. Even Bako's doing a 28.94. You give her a target, if she turns second or third, like she's an absolute aeroplane. Like she has the engine very, very few greyhounds, dogs, or bitches in the country have. And the minute Bob, like I said to you the other night, it was a happy and a sad moment, I suppose, off the first bend because off the first bend, I was very happy we were through. But when I realized that it was undulation that was in front of him, I knew that that was it. Like, and I know he was edging in and out up between the bottom. It would have made no difference if he'd have committed to one line straight away and followed that line. He wouldn't have caught her. Being honest about it. So, she was a brilliant winner and a very good winner on the night for more reasons than one, as you said, and what you said, like it just gives us all perspective. Like we love this sport, we love the animals, we care for them, we do everything right. But like you said, once it's outside the front door, that's the most important thing. And the Greyhound community will all come together now for the Matthews family and in this sad moment for them. But hopefully undulation just was that sort of picked me up that I'm sure that they all would have appreciated on the night. And from a Bob perspective, over the moon, like he's done 29, 24, 25, 23 now in 2 to 3 rounds. And the other one, as I said to Tommy earlier, I know Tommy was a bit more confident in him, like last week standing on the stand, like, and if you're talking about undulation being your cliff dog, Bob's mine. I would
Yeah.
back him in any battle, and even if hopefully we do get the battle with Bako's Diamond, I still wouldn't swap Bob for him, even with all the superlatives I'll give to Bako's Diamond. Like I'm happy with Bob in every race, but last week on the stand, I I froze in time at the second bend. I really thought he was out. He found a way to get through. So look, hopefully he can do that again next week and check for cash. Like he, I don't think he'll ever experience what he experienced on Saturday night, where you do the hard job to clear one of the best early pacers in the country in Wild Bonnie Lad, and you're setting sail off the second bend, and you look in your left wing mirror and you see undulation, and you look in your right wing mirror and you see Bob just right there. Like it just must have been, it must have been unfortunate for connections, but he's run his heart out. Like he's only back four and a bit lengths. You know what I mean? Like he's got that brute early speed as well. So I'm sure Carl and the crew were delighted. So again, like I said about a heat earlier on, it wouldn't be no shock to me to see the three of these, any one of the three of these, possibly line up in the final of a derby. They've all got some real good assets in their locker.
Yeah, it just seems week on heat. We're talking about potential Derby finalists, Tommy. They can't all make the final, but certainly the front two here have claims of getting there.
Um, they do. I actually love this. I love this heat. I love the performance of the winner. I love the performance of the runner-up. I thought Jack Cash ran his heart out because I thought actually he'd struggle to clear Why Bonnie Lad, and that might end all chance he had because Why Bonnie Lad when he hits it is exceptional early. Um, I thought like BoyleSports Bob's run, like Kevin will have to be delighted with it because to my mind, like the winner and the runner-up are both doing fast clocks despite not having clear runs. Like undulation didn't break brilliantly. Boy Sports Bob didn't. He ran without getting major trouble. He ran into areas that were holding him up a bit. He ran in behind undulation. He basically followed undulation off the last bend, and again, so in slipstream, and you're holding yourself up all the time. To my mind, this is a sub 29:10 run. Is what it is from Sport Bob. I think undulation, if she gets a clear run early, it's a sub 29:10 run as well. I really like both performances. Obviously, if I was to pick one of them to back to win the derby, I would have to say BoyleSports Bob because even though I know undulation can break better than she did the other night, she's good. Like you're trying to compete with the early pace with some of the dogs left in the derby is just pointless. You're better off
Yeah.
merely being able to try slipstream them 2 or 3 lengths and use your stamina if something goes slightly wrong that you can pick them up. So I think if you're not going to be able to beat the likes of Bombay Pat or Cheap Sandwiches or Baco's Diamond or March on Freddy, you're not going to be able to beat them to the bend. You've got to have a real stamina. I know Undulation has it, but I think she can do a little bit more early. But Boyle Sports Bob is exceptionally fast from off the pace. So I still think I just be delighted with Boyle Sports Bob. I'm sure Kevin and Paul and the whole family are. I'd be delighted with that. If you're back to him, I think you're thinking happy days. Just keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Connections. I'm sure we'll take second spot next week too, Kevin.
Oh,
Boyle
well,
Sports Bob. I'd say I know John Boyle is heavily invested, but I'd say Ned Murphy is over the moon.
oh. Ned's up there every week, and the family go up, and it's brilliant. Like Ned Ned, I suppose he said it to me even in the one of the I think it was about 2 weeks ago we were up, and he said, like when you'd meet people that often used to talk to you about like, how's your sister, or how's the grandchild, or how's the wife, or how's your whatever. He said anyone I meet, how's Bob? How's Bob? Everyone else doesn't matter. How's Bob? So he's almost like a family member to them. But yeah, look, we're all over the moon. He genuinely is healthier than he's ever been. He looks better than he's ever looked. He's in the best form he's ever been in. And Sunday morning, I was here before we headed off course, and he's just bouncing. So everything couldn't be better. So touching wood that the gallops and everything goes well this week, and we can go and give it a lash now on Saturday night again.
Yeah, well, the one thing you have, and it, has to be said, the likes of Boyle Sports Bob, even Undulation and the Bull Falcon, those types of dogs, the runs aren't going to take as much out of them perhaps as some of the early pacers. Like these dogs are just like they're battle hardened, like loads of experience behind them, but they also have a huge engine, and the engine's up to the task, shall we say? And that's another thing to keep in mind. Like a derby is a war of attrition apart from everything else, and we've been pretty lucky with the weather. It's just noticeable today. Now I'm wearing a hoodie. It was a bit cooler at Sheldon Park the other evening, and just getting to that point, now I'm just soft, but it's
Kevin,
getting to that
Kevin, will you go
point.
home and tell Bob? Go
But
home and tell Bob that he's
it's
wearing a
getting
hoodie.
it's getting
It's
to that
okay.
point of proceedings. It's getting to that point of proceedings where it's just getting a bit cooler, night on night, week on week. You never know. You never know what might happen. We don't have an awful lot of time, folks, because obviously the two of you just
Oh
talk and
yeah.
talk and talk and talk. Like one of you is bad, but the two of you together. Anyway. Four heats. The opening heat, the Laddie Da, Superfast Gordon, Check for Cash, March on Freddie, Baldabola Jim, and Bombay Pass. Briefly, Kevin,
Yeah, look, the Bombay Pat dog. I haven't looked at the prices now. I'm sure Bombay Pat is going to be a warm
two,
order,
two to one, I think.
2-1.
9 to 4.
Is he nine to
Um,
four? Is he?
like check for cash is going to be a nice price. Like you've got Ballinabula Gym in there flying. Look, I'm gonna. If you're asking me for selection, I'm going to probably get a bit of value with the Laddie Da or Trap One, English Derby winner in what his fourth or fifth last start. He's got his red jacket. He's only been beaten out with red once or twice. Um, I know people are going to be quick to knock him. Look, is he the most likely winner? Maybe not, but at the prices that you're going to get, what price are you getting on the Laddie Da?
130 with yourselves.
Okay, so he's actually closer. Yeah, I'll take a chance with Laddie Da.
It's a wide open affair, Tommy. It's without question the deepest of the heats. When you consider the likes of Check for Cash and Superfast Gordon are double figure odds, I think that sums it up. Um,
I
I have absolutely genuinely no idea what way I'll end up siding. Listen, I'm sure I'll probably end up tipping Bombay Pat, but I'll tell you something. If Baldabola Jim does his 338, he's going to need to be every bit the champion that he looks to come home in front. The lad he does, capable of his 335, he could do anything. And then we haven't even mentioned March on Freddie, who could potentially be better drawn in four than he has been in six.
Well, Marathon Freddy's race depends on what the laddie da does early, I think. And now, obviously, Check for Cash's early pacing could potentially get in the way a little bit. I think he's a tricky draw, Marathon Freddy. I mean, what I would be doing there, I'd be back in Bombay Pat and saving him the laddie da at the price. Super fast Gordon, hard to make a case for him. Check for Cash, hard to make a case for him winning. Marathon Freddy's a difficult draw, and Ballinball Jim's a difficult draw. I think it's either top or bottom, and I would side if you're going 9 to 4 Bombay Pat and 130 the laddie da. I think there's better value in Bombay Pat at those prices, even though the laddie da is obviously a serious player.
Yeah. On to Heat 2, Untold Dollar, Ballymac Sing Along Dolly, Mustang Fever, Lucky Julie, and Cheap Sandwiches. Cheap Sandwiches is a hot favorite at 4 to 6. Tommy, we suspect that you wouldn't be taking it 4 to 6. I think he's a fair enough favorite. But again, I'll be keeping an eye on Untold Dollar in those opening five strides. And I think Lucky Julie can get involved. I also wouldn't be completely dismissing Singalong Dolly at 8-1. We know that she is capable of a ping start. And if she does ping, McBriar won't be edging out. He'll be edging in. Untold Dollar, he hasn't looked like he's going to take a flyer. There is a chance that Singalong Dolly can turn a bit closer again on Saturday night. And just thought the 8-1 about her was a bit of value, but Cheap Sandwiches is a worthy favourite. What's your brief view on it, Tommy?
Yeah, look at it. I find it difficult to fancy Untold Dollar because I think McBriar can lead him early and might just be a stumbling block. Single on Dolly has to bounce back to her best form. Mustang Fever, this is a step up again. Lucky Julie breaks well enough to cause a bit of a problem for Cheap Sandwiches. Cheap Sandwiches is certainly the most likely winner, but at value at prices, 20-1 McBriar looks a little bit big.
20-1. He's 20-1 place. He's 14s with Boyles. Okay, Kevin, do you have any view on that?
Yeah, look, I thought what you said is fairly spot on. I think this lad is. I know 4 to 6 is short, but I think I do expect Cheap Sandwiches to win this race. I know Sing Along Dolly can take a flyer. I know McBriar has got good sections over 5-5. Even Cheap Sandwiches breaking the way he's breaking at the moment. Even if he comes out a little bit sideways, I could still see him in front of the corner here, and I think he's the most likely winner. I think, like you said, I think Sing Along Dolly and McBriar might be batting it out for third because I think a Lucky Julie looks like she'll definitely go through from this heat with a clear run.
On to Heat 3. Kevin, I'm going to suggest that you're going to be going with BoyleSports Bob, who's racing from trap 5. 1 extra gain, 2 to Bull Falcon, 3 undulation, 4 Issue there, 5 BoyleSports Bob, and 6 Carrick Aldo. The early speed you would suspect will come from Carrick Aldo with Issue there, perhaps going up in, prominent enough position. After that, BoyleSports Bob, there's a chance he could turn a little bit closer to the pace in this contest, especially if he finds a half length that boxes. He'll need to because you don't want him trying to come from behind the Bull Falcon or undulation into the back straight. Kevin, it's a strange contest. Already notable support for Carricaldo, who was introduced at 2-1 alongside BoyleSports Bob, joint favourites, but it's now 9-4 Bob, 13-8 Carricaldo. It wasn't just one or two punters on. Damien Lonigan reported that there was a good bit of support for Carricaldo in trap 6. You can see why he does look the most likely pace setter, and he does a 29-15 in defeat last week. 29-15 would probably be good enough.
Yeah, no, he looks the most likely winner here. He's got Bob inside him. You'd imagine Bob's not going to threaten him in the early stages. Issue there is pacing up really well. 1, 2, and 3, wouldn't be blessed with early. So off a half level start, Caragallo's going to go to the front here. He's capable of doing 29-15. It's going to be hard to pick him up. I think you summed it up well. Strange race. A race I could easily see Bob turn as close as second in. And most times I'd say at worst nearly third. However, we know Bob can throw in a fluffer, and this is the one you can't afford to extra gain the Bull Falcon undulation. Like whoever's out the back here, whatever turns last here's out. Whatever's last at the first bend doesn't matter. We'll need a miracle at the third bend to go through. So really don't want trouble early. Just a good start because it's going to be important to turn in the pitch here because like as good as Bob is coming home or even the Bull Falcon, if either of those two dogs turn last, if Undulation and Bob are in front of the Bull Falcon or vice versa, if the Bull Falcon and Undulation are in front of Bob, I don't see how one of them could pick up either of the other two. So look, good race, looking forward to it, hoping for a clear passage and go through, but definitely Caracaldo a worthy favourite in my ace.
Intriguing heat, Tommy.
Yeah, it is. I would say if you swap the traps to 5 and 6 balls for Bob and Carrick I'd make Bob a proper bet.
Mm.
But just the way the draw is, because Carrick is going to take his ground a little bit, not very early, but going into the bend, the Carrick will be moving across a little bit. Just at the bend, I just don't know what will it impact Boys for Bob. Maybe not at all. But if they swap the boxes, I'd say Boys for Bob would pick up Aldo. He'll Carrick Aldo lead. I was massively impressed with Carrick Aldo last week because I thought, as I said earlier on, I thought the previous run would break his heart. It didn't. He's just a brilliant dog. I think Boys for Bob, if he gets a clear run, will pick him up. But I think the two of those will qualify.
Yeah, I'm obvious. I sort of agree with you. Yeah, I think Carricaldo will be in front. I think that's pretty comfortable. You'd imagine Carricaldo, like he's been trapping better than Bob. He has more early speed than Bob. So, like, I think it's an okay draw for both of them. Funnily enough, Carrick Aldo has plenty of good runs from the middle and from five. So, I wouldn't have had any problems with him in five and Bob in six. I don't think it really matters to Bob.
No,
Bar he doesn't run into Ishii there, or she just doesn't make a pest of herself up his inside or something like that. But like I think the two of them will qualify. It could get very tight the inside.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think that Bob would have a clear side of the hair from six, whereas five will definitely get out in front of him, or almost certainly get out in front of him and get across a little bit. It's not a problem. He's well used to come from off the pace, so it's not going to be an issue, please God, in terms of qualifying. But I think he might pick up Carrigallo if he turns second, like Kevin says, suggest he can, which I think he can too. If he does that, he wins.
Yeah. On to Heat 4, Callaway, Kennegair, 2,
Mm.
Hawkfield Blue, 3, Short Grip, 4, Scooby Pacemaker, 5, Baco's Diamond, and 6 is 7 Beach. Baco's Diamond is in around 4 to 11, 1 to 3. Hard to dispute that. Callaway, Kennegair came in for one chunky bet with yourselves, Kevin. He was 11 to 2. He's now 5 to 1. But if Baco's Diamond comes away on terms, you'd imagine he'll hold and lead Seven Beach into the opening corner. You'd imagine he'll have the early speed of Short Grip, but she is getting sharper week on week. But it really should be too good for her. It's Baco's Diamonds to lose, isn't it, Tommy?
Yeah, it is realistically, but like you can't afford to do much wrong because Seven Beach will break like he breaks all the time and will show his pace up into the bend. So you got to be at least matching him in the first two strides because if he does that, he'll lead him around. Look at he's hard to oppose, despite the fact that this is a good heat. I think it's a tricky draw for Callaway Kennegair because I think Hawfield Blue can pop out and lead him. Short Grip can pop out. Scooby Pacemaker will move across at some stage. Um, and if he gets in front of Callaway Kinnegar might struggle to qualify, despite the fact that he has untold sort of pace. Massively talented dog, but I think Bacchus Diamond and Seven Beach will be first and second around the bend. Seven Beach must lead Hawfield Blue early to
Yeah.
qualify. That's
Yeah,
key.
I think he does. Yeah, I think
I
he
think that's
does. He
key. I think
has
it's
to,
key
yeah.
because there's enough stamina in between Scooby Pacemaker and Callaway Kinnegar to say you're not coming by all of us.
Yeah. Um, Kevin, it's hard to see past Baco's Diamond. But like the other heats, it could get interesting in behind.
Oh yeah, look, it's going to be very hard to oppose him. And if me life depended on it, I wouldn't oppose him. But I will say this is not the race you'd want him to miss the break. And I'm not saying that just to heighten things because you've got Hawkfield Blue, Shark Grip, both who can do sub 340 on the inside of him. You've got Seven Beach on the outside of him who can do sub 340. If he did give them a length or a length and a half and came through the middle of him where he's drawn to do, you've also got Callaway Kennegair and Scooby Pacemaker in behind where if there was trouble and he did turn a second or third into it, it just would get interesting. The most likely thing to happen is for him to do a 333 blast into the corner, go around in front and win. If you're asking me for a value, I'm going to go with Seven Beach because I might as well have him in the kennel at this stage. You talk about cliff dogs. I suppose I'll go up there with Seven Beach as one of mine that aren't in the kennel. But I love the dog, and I know right well he'll give you a real good run for your money, regardless of trap draws or likely outcomes. I'd back him any box, any distance, any track. I know he'll give his all, and he never runs a bad race. So I'll stick a fiver on Seven Beach. I don't know what price he is, but if you're looking for value, that's what I'd go.
Good man, Kevin. Kevin has to pay for the nappies somehow, Tommy. Um, thank God we're past that.
Yes.
Um, That's the derby. It's a special
Yeah.
one, no question about it. It is so deep, so competitive, and yet we have a 6 to 4 favorite. We're not going to go back over it. We've been doing that ad nauseum. It's just an exceptional derby. Best of luck to anybody with the dog left in the competition. We have about 2.5 minutes to speak about the Derby Plate, which we saw Hussein Pickles and Faye Point Harvey setting the standard on Friday night at Shelburne Park. Hussein Pickles again just shows how immensely fast she is. And Faye Point Harvey 29-24, Hussein Pickles 29-21. Some other good performances. Naki Dazzler back to winning ways. It was great to see him running so well from the front. Tribal Sid was picked up on the line by Carmack King. That was an interesting contest. Don't take that form at face value. Tribal Sid looked like he was going to enter the back straight five in front, entered the 2.5 in front. I think he took a false step on the opening corner, just seemed to lose a little bit of momentum. And instead of going into the back five clear, he was only 2.5 clear. And at that point, it was ball burst because you knew they were probably too close in behind. So don't take that at face value. Maybe still a little bit of value in Tribal Sid's price. Any thoughts on the plate, Tommy? before we talk about a certain Drubby's Kathleen.
All I'm saying is that the times would tell you just how good the derby is when you see dogs in 29, 21, 29, 24, and these are the dogs that haven't qualified they didn't qualify for the third round, never mind the quarterfinals of the derby. That'll tell you how hot the competition, the level of Greyhound is. Also that the track is fast.
Yeah, Kusain Pickles. I don't think anyone would argue she's amongst the top five fastest
Aye.
bitches in the country, no question about it.
Yeah,
And for
yeah.
her to do 29-21 is no shock to anybody. Kevin, it's a cracking Derby plate. I saw someone give it out about it the other day, and I was going, I don't know what you were talking about. It's five times better than last year's at the opening round stage. It's it's a Derby plate with proper Derby dogs in it, whereas in other years you can sort of get those dogs that, you know, probably were never really Derby dogs and managed to progress. Obviously we've seen exceptions. We've seen some very good winners of the competition and really good dogs in the final in the Reeves year. So, but there was a proper sort of 8, 10 dogs at the top of the market here that were like, if they were still in the Derby, you'd be giving them a life.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, and I haven't heard anyone giving out about the play, but if I did, I'd fight that corner, no problem. Like we've had some unbelievable winners of this competition, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like there's one derby every year, and everyone builds their dogs around to it, and you'll have unlucky stories, and you'll have hard luck stories, and things that just didn't go right, and I think the plate is a fantastic competition. And you watch the race on final night, there'll be plenty of betting on it, and the connections will be whoever is lucky enough to win it gets a great kick out of it. So all you have to do is look at the top end of the betting here, like Kusam Pickles, you have the Kirby winner knocking, Dazzler, Tribal Sid, second in the International in Dundalk, Carmack King was favoured for the Derby at one point earlier in the year. You know, this is a proper stake. Miami King is 12-1 finalist in the Ledger. Like there's some real good sorts in here. If you're looking for, there's plenty of value still even on offer. You know, In Good Time ran really well in the first round of the Derby and had some good form back in the day as well. You know, like it's available at 20-1. So, look, for me, I think Tribal say that 8-1 is. I think you're right, Ian. I think there is juice in that price, regardless of the outcome of the other night. You know what you're going to get from him. Good starter, burner into the third bend. The track will be running good on final night. You'd imagine if he can get there, I can guarantee you he'll be probably less than two. Even if the top five or six got to in the bet and got to the final, like you'd imagine at worst he's going to be a 9-4 chance. So,
Yeah.
at 8-1, I think he's good value.
The leadability claims are there. Let's finish off proceedings by talking about just briefly the opening round heats of the Gourmet Island Puppy Oaks. Um, Listen, we saw three, very impressive heat winners. Hope's Kitty ran very well to win the first heat for Pat Buckley, and the third heat was won in very good style by unanimous Roxy. Double there for Pat Buckley, but you know. What do you say about Drubby's Kathleen? You can say all you like about the track being fast, but pragmatism qualified or debuted in 28.67 around Thurles, an absolutely stunning performance. Fabulous Ika 28.24. Ballymac Jade at 27.03 for the 500 at Tralee. She's 28. She's a couple of good runs on her card. Farhide Lila is a confirmed 28.50 type bitch, and Darby's Dancer is very talented. She had 28.49 on her card. And Drewby's Kathleen did exactly what I felt and many others felt she would do. She improved for her first and second runs. 28.03 winner last time, 27.77. And it doesn't come as any shock to me whatsoever. A couple of weeks ago, Robert Gleason, who has still Drubby's Mandolin, he trained Drubby's Curio, he's trained Ishi Up the Style, he's trained Bally McBeanie. Like, he's trained, did he train Bally McBeanie?
No,
No, he didn't.
Declan Byrne,
Declan
Declan Byrne.
Byrne to Bally McBeanie. But he's trained like some absolutely outstanding bitches. And I'm not even sure he meant best bitch he's ever had or the best he's ever had. Like, he had Slippery Robert who won at Derby. He told me 2 weeks ago, this is the best I've ever had. Before she ran her first race, the night Droopy's deploy ran in his first race. He was a 28.50 qualifier, and I said, "This is a good dog tonight." He said, "Yeah, he's a really good dog. He'll go faster as well." He said, "But I have a bitch that beat him 7 lengths on trial." And that was Droopy's Kathleen. Now, the other night, she showed unbelievable early speed. I think she sort of took a little step out into the corner, did a couple of things wrong. She does a 15.78. She comes home in 12 seconds or better, 11.99, 27.77. Like, this could potentially be one of the greatest bitches we've ever seen.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it was almost weird. I watched the race after knowing the result. So I wasn't watching it live, so I knew the outcome. And I watched her coming away, and I don't know whether it was her action or whatever, but like she didn't like when Susie was doing this, like she or Pestana or Baco's Diamond, like like if they were in on their own, they're absolutely burning it. I don't know whether it's her coloring or her markings or whatever it was, but on the run to the bend, like she's accelerating into it, but it almost didn't look overly fluent. And then she's 3 or 4 lengths in front off the second bend, and I'm watching her, I'm still not blown away. I'm like, where? And she's just pulverizing them. Like the gap is 3 at the second bend, then it's 4, 5, 6, 7. It's just widening all the time. I still don't think she's doing a run. And off the last bend, then it's like 9, 10. I don't know how far she won by in the end, 11 or 12 lengths. And like you said, Ian, it's not just the run. The bitches in behind are all like they're in the puppy horse. Like they're 28,
Like
40, 50
these are
bitches.
next year's Oaks pitches in
Yeah.
behind.
And she's
She beats them
just
11 and a half lengths, I think it was.
Yeah, and she's 3 in front of the second bend without trouble. Like it's not one of those races where there was carnage at the third bend and whatever. It just was incredible viewing, and I think for me, and this is Tommy spoke earlier about cheap sandwiches, and people probably, as he said himself, like he didn't. People won't agree with him. This is just one for me. I did at no point on the run to the third bend or half a down the back did I think she was doing any sort of run. I just didn't. I don't know whether it was her action or whatever. Like, and then you just see it. And my grandfather, God be good to him, Bunny used to always say like that when you know a real one is when you're watching them and you don't think they're doing a run, and then the clock goes up and you go, wow.
But
And that
The coloring is something. It's something I've always believed in myself. Like I obviously we were involved with Seamus Graham for years and years and years. So we owned Cool Survivor, black and white
mm,
bitch. Never looked like she was,
mm,
she won an Oaks. It never looked like she was absolutely flying. Never looked like she really fully striding out. You go then to Marina's Tina. Obviously, again, she won 2 Oaks.
mm.
Black and white bitch never looked like she was really flying because of the coloring. Black and white bitch. Marina's Tina, her or Tina Marina, her dam, something similar. Born a Survivor, again, something similar. Black and white bitch, and they just seem like go even. Do you remember Tully Act? Tully Act looked so fluent, but never looked like this dog that was really right
Mm.
striding out. But it's the coloring. That's the
Yeah,
only
I'm
thing I
not.
put it
it's
down
Yeah,
to.
it could have been, but it was bizarre because genuinely after second bend, I'm like, there is not a world this one is doing 2770 or 16, whatever she was doing to the third bend. And then you're literally like, wow, like it just was. It was a real wow for me when the time came up and the performance was there. And not even the time, like how far she wins to the line. Like it was
Yeah,
incredible. It was
yeah.
breathtaking to watch.
they're like I think there's something about what you were saying, Kevin. I'll tell you why, because I thought last week as well, and Ian always said when I say this gallops like a big dog or a small dog or whatever, he'll always say, "Oh, it's the coloring every time and without fail." I thought last week she looked like it was a scratchy action, and she looked
Yeah,
like it was a scratchy, and yet she got into the bend. And I was going the last week. I was going, "How did she do that?" And I still think it looks like
yeah,
it's like the horse who's a daisy cutter, where they not a horse
yeah,
that'll go on heavy ground, a horse that the hooves hardly leave the ground, they just low
Yeah.
across the ground. Actually, even though it can look
They
scratchy, it's actually effective.
scarcely bend their knees.
You're not leaving much time with your legs in the air where you're pushing all the time, and that's where you're making up the ground. She looks to me like that type. That she's actually scratchy is a completely wrong word because that sounds like a negative thing. She's immense. I couldn't believe what I was seeing the other night because her action to me the other night, and maybe it's coloring, and you and I, Kevin, are completely wrong. But to me, it looks a different type of action than what I'm used to watching.
yeah.
And you and I are watching greyhounds for donkeys years. You were watching more than I am, but we're watching
God,
them. You'll see something different. You'll see something different in them. Like it's deeply impressive. I think that's the third fastest run ever at Shelburne Park, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
I think
it
Ballymac
is.
and Minton might have done 29, 28, 27.70 and
2770. Yeah.
7, yeah, 27.67 for Paradise Madison back many moons ago.
She's in
Um,
sixth next night, but she can still do the clock.
well, she will
well,
do it. She will.
it's
I'll go on the record now. She'll do it.
she.
I have no. If you said to me now you can have 3 to 1 her to break the clock. I'm not saying don't. I'm not saying she'll do it from six, or I'm not saying she'll do it in this
Yeah,
day. She will do it at some. Whether it's the Irish Oaks next year, at some point, touch wood, she stays in one piece. There
It
is no
depends.
certainty she will go faster.
It depends if Bako's Diamond gets a pop at it first.
Well, I don't know how Baco's time is going to get into the
Yeah.
Oaks. If Graham gets him into the Oaks,
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
by that stage, he might have lowered it to 27.50.
Yeah, I was
yeah,
going to say the
maybe.
exact time I was going to say, listen, let's enjoy her.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
a night's racing to look forward to at Shelburne Park on Saturday night. We have the semi-finals of the Puppy Oaks featuring the aforementioned Drewby's Kathleen. We have the quarterfinals of the Michael Fortune Memorial Derby Plate. And of course, we have the quarterfinals of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. If there's no greater excuse to get to Shelburne Park than that card, get yourselves up there, enjoy it. It was immense on Saturday night. The crowd downstairs was huge. There was a real buzz underneath. It's just a great time to be alive, folks. It's a great time to be alive. And I always say it, greyhound racing is always at its best when it's dark. And with the hours gone back, it's dark from start to finish, and it's a great, great night out. And I think there's every reason to get to Shelburne Park for what is a very special time at present, both in the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby and the surrounding competitions. Again, you'll see Drewby's Kathleen in action on Saturday night, as well as our Derby contenders. Gentlemen, anything to add before we go?
Season
Oh, just looking
Shelburne.
forward to it.
Yeah.
Just looking forward to it.
That's it. That's it for us on this Monday evening. We've spoken for a long, long time. Well, the boys did. I just sort of cut in every now and again. But that's it from us. Best of luck to everyone with the dog running in the quarterfinals of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby at Shelburne Park on Saturday night. An occasion not to be missed. 24 will become 12. But that's it from us this evening. Good evening, good luck, and God bless.